Um, Good evening and good day, everybody, and thanks for joining. Thanks to Jacques, Melissa, and the Red Wheelbarrow for allowing me to share some of Roy's work, and also Larry Schwartz from Melbourne now for actually making this possible by raising this possibility. I'm going to share my screen, and I've actually prepared a PowerPoint as a prop so that I can basically cover everything or some of it, just to give me a skeleton or a framework to talk about. I will go straight into Roy's poetry. I've called this a poet from Goodwood. Roy grew up in Goodwood in a very tightly knit Jewish community in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and a tiny bit in the 80s. I've just shared a couple of pictures of Roy as a youngster and in the pharmacy. Our father was a pharmacist. Let's move on. This is the only poem set in Goodwood, and it's Alice Street, and it's watching the construction site at the corner of Alice Street in the heat. Are those blue and red helmets in the midst of all that cement, and the crane and the workers buzzing just like the kind of energetic hornets I like to see resplendent in the mauve turquoise layers of heat. But it is above all the piled up sand like pyramids that plummets my joy to rockets and makes me delight in the mirth of growth, be it tiny or large. Everything before me here is tinged with the mysterious glow of breathing toil, for the hornets with labor, but me watching in excitement. The next poem was written in 1975, and as I wrote in the brief introduction, Roy was appalled by apartheid and the ugliness and viciousness of apartheid. And this was written a year before the Soweto riots. It's called Roadblock. When the peacock-plumed lady views the men in brown overalls shoveling the gravel, which might easily be mistaken for an image of her guilt, she mutters, "Oh, how terrible," and continues to sip her tea. When the squat bank manager sees the sign, "Roadworks ahead," he curses the boy, waving the red flag, not realizing that it is for him that the roads are being repaired. State subsidized, making an agreeable bank balance more accessible in direct proportion to his greed. When the social science student sees the arms heaving, picking, swaying, he pulls up and considers the sociological significance of the affair. When the milk boy sees the roadblock, he yawns, milk cans clattering, lights, smoke, milk fizzing in the rear mirror, looks ahead. When the school teacher sees the road gang dawdling on the curb, laughing at his car, he thinks a bit of grammar would teach the bastard something, but says nothing. When the Dumini is halted by the parallel flash of static cars, he does not see the roadblock, only the face of the boy, which he considers a trifle too black for his puritanical likes and does not call on God for advice, but merely reflects on the efficacy of the Group Areas Act. When the pop star sees the road gang, he muses, how ironical that they should build roads, especially for me. When the rugby player sees the spectacle, he says the game begins at 2. When the visionary is held up, he thinks, thank God those shovels aren't machine guns. I see an image of rising smoke, of flashing tempers in the air. This is a similar one. It's called A South African Day, also written probably in the late 60s. And this was a time when everything seemed unchanged and unchangeable. The police vans rattle through our windy cities. Everything is as it usually is. The garden boy is friendly, and I feel pain as I watch him spade the earth. The milk boy is called Milky by the woman who works in the chemist. The delivery boy calls me Mr. Roy and does not mind when I tell him the wind is a dangerous thief. The suburbs are sunny. Everything is as it normally is. This, you can see, is from New Coin from 1984, and it's called Progress Poem. There are all those side streets you have to go through, so many interconnections, and they are there, and they have to get across too, and everything is dark and musty, and they are all around you, and you are in their midst, and there are all the side streets, and there seems to be some sense of confusion, and something seems wrong, but you keep on moving, and you're not sure if you're with the crowd, and there's no knowing where next you'll be heading, and the side streets seem to be multiplying, and you can feel the shadows of wind and shadows. Just the smell of the air makes your footsteps dizzy, but there's nothing left to stop you, only the sound of the air that is sallow. This is The Lord's Been Through Freedom. Was published posthumously in the UK. Spit up yourself and be free if it's freedom that you want. Don't bother the Lord. He's busy in the sheds with the maids where it's dark. The Lord's been through freedom. It's cold in the fields, warm in the sheds. He knows. He does not mind that the crops are withering. He knows the corn is dead. After Roy passed away, Gus Ferguson and Alan James, who are well-known writers of that age, published a collection of mainly unpublished and some published work, and they together selected the various poems. It's called Ach Man, and you can see this is a picture that a painting that Roy had in his room. This is a sketch of Roy done by Brenda Ginsberg, who's with us on the Zoom this evening. Ach man, so what if your lupins are gathering in the crumbs of silence, and if your razor-smiled chaos is unzipping the tablet tabernacles of a million imperfect swirling worlds? Ach man, you are not too bad to be skewered, half laughing in the milkshake machines. Ach man, the snow might still shine like violet. Ach man. I'm not going to read all of them. I'm going to read Innovation. And this comes from Roy's medical school years. And some cockroach concocts a theory, and it's Marx, and it's Freud, and it's Smarts, and it's Schmoid. And all the maggots swallow and drink in the theory, and they think they're smart as they regurgitate it and hide from the spark of color's dark perfume, the breath of winter on a bleeding lake. I'm going to read Comforts Frighten Me. Roy was obsessed by materialism, or the dangers of materialism. And today we're seeing this march towards materialism, you know, that's led to global warming, amongst other things, and also taking your mind off what's really important in the world. Comforts frighten me. So smart looks the stereo set on the polished marble top, the vase filled with leaf-white lilies, so slender they could be the stalks of death. The fridge crammed with bleak, ice-thick foods seems to say, things will always be this way, but snowed petals know this can never be. Across the torn head sheets they moan, all comforts are lies, from us they hide the sliming claws, clinging to our usual walls, scraping to break in. Comforts lull like the blind lizard that makes black wings, drink stones. Many poets write love poetry, and this is one of my favorites. It's called With You for Rosemary, and I don't know who Rosemary was or is, and maybe someone who's on the meeting tonight might know. When I am with you, I am with all the roses of 1,000 years, roses as yet untarnished by time, roses more decorative than a child's playpen and almost as pleasing. When your hair illumines the secret desires of my squirreled heart, I see vague petals leap across the water shadows that bound the distance between our souls. When I am with you, it is as if night-fallen music has enchanted the grass, whose sweetness goes untainted by the white ale of the moon. What strange festivities abound when your arm dreams engulf the shadow of my abyss, when your lips single out my misery from amongst still stolen ashes. In 1978, a group of medical students, including myself, went to what was then the Transkei, now in the Eastern Cape. Our goal was to gain medical experience in rural hospitals. And you can see a picture of us with Roy. Roy came along with his typewriter and observed. And I'm going to read both of these. The hospital we're at was the Nessie Knight Hospital in Solo near Sulankama, which is quite close to Mthatha. Solo, Transkei, a ditch within a ditch, illumined by the frost, throttled by the sun. Twigs scratch the dust roads. The single gas station whimpers like a puppy. Everything obtrudes, and the mustiness matches perfectly the idleness. Loafers in tackies prepare to overwhelm the emptiness. At the hospital where I worked, there were doctors from Germany, including a married couple, a surgeon and a pediatrician, and this poem is about their baby. Laughing close our patients gathered around a white baby. Their laughter is as flagrant as an apple slit by the sun. Light daggers penetrate the pram that looms like a cherry mountain overlooking the mirth. The baby does not whimper at the cloudless sky. Why should he? No misery brushes the brow of the fields whence these patients come. There are no luxuries, only laughter to assuage the sickness of the felt. The laughing figs are dry. Arlene is on the call. She said hello to me earlier, and this was in our Johannesburg days. And we visited Arlene. Roy had come up to spend a couple of days with us in Johannesburg. And this is to a beetle paddling in Arlene's pool. So you dived into the pool thinking you were brave, and now you're barely paddling with your brown spindles, coughing up creeks of water in the Transvaal December light. Yes, you, arthropod voyager, traveling through the waters of our built-in glory that today it seems can only be cement patio dented, last lush redeemed by you. Roy had mental issues, probably bipolar, so much so that my parents, who were great travelers, couldn't travel alone. My father loved traveling. He went on a few trips by himself. This is one, as you can see, to Australia, where Larry was there already, and they spent some time together. To my father, alone on holiday in Australia, you alone in that terrible vastness, and us over here. seas separating our barriers, skies enfolding our griefs, and the steady tarmac. This is from a self-publication, Everything is Sacred, Brewer Orchestra, Salvation is Coming, and Roy designed the cover. And Roy took his life, and he wrote a lot about dying. And these are one of his thoughts about dying. Death must be like. This is what death must be like. The steady ache, calm as ginger ice, more gentle than a gentle toe. I like this death form. Still, I'd like leave to go. This is called Edict. Just let me be myself and let my flowers grow. Too much, oh, I do not wish to know. Greet me where you go, if not, blow. My wife, Rena, is a veterinarian, and since we got married and even before, we had animals in our lives. And Roy was not a known animal lover, but he loved animals and he got to observe them. And this is our first dog, Dennis, with our son, Jonathan. And this is a poem about Dennis. Mongrel of straw, it seems just lying there, mangy mat, but beautiful as you fang snap at the buttercup air. Inexorable quester of that companion that will complement your style, the silver sliver of excitement that radiates inside. This is my favorite, and I only came across it when I was scanning all of Roy's work, and I really had forgotten about this one. It's called Conversation of Cats. And this was written on the last day that I saw my brother. He had come to spend a few weeks with us in Johannesburg. That day, my wife, Irina, went into labor, and our son, Jonathan, was born. And we had cats, and we had this rocking chair that Roy adored. The Conversation of Cats. The conversation of cats is heard only by the wind, naught elsewhere, where the somewhere turns the bend and teaches the words not to preach to silence. Whenever the ointment dunes are whistling and some intent burglar is almost on the beat, yes, the conversations of cats can glisten like rubies in the night. So that's the last poem that I have selected. And I've got a picture of some of Roy's work, and you can see over here, it was kept in my parents' house until both my parents had passed away. And then we transported it to the Amazwi South African Museum of Literature, where it's in storage, all 80 odd plays and approximately 10,000 poems. And again, thanks to Larry for making this possible. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Roy. Mark, sorry for sharing that. Do you want to stop your screen share for us for the moment?
I'll do that.
And then if anyone would like to ask any questions or pass any comments or anything like that, you're welcome to raise your hand or unmute yourself and hop on. I see Jacques has got his hand up first. So here we go.
Okay.